Earl Brown Jr. and the Burke Bulldogs are getting ready for another exciting football season. I talk one-on-one with the head football coach of the Burke Bulldogs for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Coach Earl Brown Jr., welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Needless to say, you are the head football coach here at Burke High School. And I know that you came back last year as its head football coach.
Right.
Tell me, what's new, what's now with the Burke Bulldogs?
Well, what's new is it's a new year. We have some kids that are seasoned now. There were some younger kids last year who really didn't have a chance to play at the varsity level, the high school level. But now they have 1 year under their belt, and they've put in the work since December. We've had an excellent summer camp thus far in preparation for the season. We have the Jamboree coming up this Friday on the 11th. And the excitement is new. The enthusiasm is new. The energy is new. The accountability is new. So right now, everything is going in the upward direction, which is a positive thing.
You talk about accountability is new. What was that accountability before you came back here?
Well, I can't really speak on the previous regime, but just identifying and observing some habits, I can definitely tell you that, I stand firm on being accountable and being present and attendance.
Yes, sir.
It's one of those things whereas you get better if you come, all right, and that's the only way you can get better and improve. All right, if you show up every day with that correct energy, that positive mind frame, you have no choice but to get better and improve. So that's what I mean by accountability.
And what exactly, how have you identified those habits thus far during camp?
Well, we still have some issues with attendance, but it's not nearly as tough as it was the previous year, last year. Right now, we're batting at about 88% as far as attendance every day, but now that needs to be up. We're north of 95, 96% if you really want, true justice as far as your preparation. But we're working on that. It's definitely up from last year, but again, it's a steady improvement. Rome wasn't built overnight.
That's exactly right. And so, Coach, what are those other habits that you identified that you've actually corrected during camp?
The enthusiasm, the energy during practice, the pace. Right now, we don't have to, per se, do conditioning before or after practice because the pace of our practice, every rep is game speed, in which we would say. So right now, we've actually had 2 scrimmages thus far, and I can hold my head high and chest up with I guess, like a proud papa, because we, out of 5 teams that we've scrimmaged thus far, 2 separate scrimmages, we were the team that was undoubtedly in the best shape. And that is because of our practice tempo. Every rep is game speed. Because a lot of times kids feel as though that they can turn it up or flip that switch once the lights come on. But we're emphasizing, every rep game speed, and it's proven thus far to this point.
Wow. And I want to get back to that in just a second. But what exactly is the speed, mobility, and size of your current players?
So right now, I have 15 kids right now on the team total, and we have some. It's a broad spectrum. We're not the biggest, but we're not the smallest. But I can say we're up there as far as the mightiest. And no pun intended, because we have 15 kids. But we have a quality 15 right now. And I'm more than sure that we're going to have a few more guys that are going to be interested once the school year starts in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But right now, I can only count on what we have coming every day and showing up every day, and that's 15 strong. And like I said before, last night, we had our second scrimmage. And, of course, walking off the bus, they look at the numbers. They see the quantity, but they don't understand there's quality in that number. And we actually more than held our own versus a couple schools that had a little bit more players than we did quantity-wise, but it was clear that we had much more quality.
So, going back to last season, Coach, what was the quality of the reps then versus now?
Well, the primary, the common denominator was this year. I had a full off season with my guys, so we've been working and putting in work since December up until now. I mean, every day, 4 days a week. Of course, they've gotten the required weeks off according to the South Carolina High School League and things of that nature. Of course, Christmas break, spring break, things of that nature. But I've had a full off season with these guys, which I really wish I would have had a full off season last year. So what I mean by full off season, we started December 5th. Because by rule, you could start after the last day of the state championship game. So we started December 5th, and we worked consistently since then. Versus when I got the job and was hired last year, I was not able to put my hands on the kids and on this program until May.
Wow.
So you look at December, January, February, March, April, May. That's 6 months.
Wow.
And that's a huge difference. Now, one thing you'll know, and folks will understand about me, Coach Brown, Jr., the second. I don't make excuses. Sure. I don't make excuses, but I'm just being transparent here, and that's the difference. I've had an opportunity to have a full off season with these group of guys, and it shows.
Wow. So during the off season, Coach, what resources did you have that have actually made these players much stronger now?
Well, the resources have always been here. Because there's nothing that has been added or given to me that was not already here. And the resources that I need is basically the weight room.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And those weights were here before I got here. Like I said, I can't speak on what happened prior to me coming here. I mean, I really don't know. I wasn't on that staff. But I can only tell you what we do. And again, we utilize the weight room since December. Wow. Now, we did have a little hump in the road in between June up until maybe last week. We were able to lift weights because the building was inaccessible due to the roofing construction or work. So we did lose out on about 2 months of trying to get stronger a little bit faster. But again, we don't make excuses. We did the best that we could do with the cards that we were dealt. But like I said, the resources is just they're here.
Yes, sir.
And just a little added just being consistent. And again, back to that word that we talked about earlier, holding the kids accountable.
Right. So let me ask you this: where exactly do you want the players to get stronger in or faster?
Just the overall game. But I really want them to concentrate on getting stronger in the classroom. In the classroom, and I'm just not telling you this because we're doing an interview here. Folks on my staff, my kids will tell you, you're called a student athlete, not athlete student. The student comes first. You have to be that student before you become that athlete. And I also tell them, you can run for 50,000 yards in a season. You can score 20 touchdowns in one game. And you can have 1,000 touchdowns for a season. But if you don't have that strong championship transcript, all's for naught. And again, I have every 3 weeks we have progress reports that I send out, and the teachers around the building, they'll tell you that hey, those football players are going to come with that weekly progress report. And with me and my staff holding our kids, our boys accountable in the classroom, that's the key element of being strong. Now, we want to get them stronger physically as well, but it has to start by being strong in the classroom.
And Coach, let me ask you this, Dan. What mentality and resources from the football field have actually translated into the classroom for these kids?
Accountability, work ethic, because it's tough. Everybody can't be an athlete, one. And football isn't for everyone. Because one, we deal with the elements outside.
Oh, yes.
As we talked about today, it's extremely hot outside. But our boys, we actually put into practice today. We practiced from 9 to about 11:30 today. after having a scrimmage last night. So football isn't for everyone. You know, you have it takes a special person to have to carry a helmet, shoulder pads, pads in the heat, out in the element, versus an indoor sport,
Right.
or sports during the winter seasons when it's a little cooler. Even in the spring, it's still a little cooler. So that's the part there where, you know, we focus on.
What else are you focusing on right now?
Right now, just focusing on it's just building that camaraderie, building that structure of leadership, leading by example, practicing what you preach. You know, we tell kids to show up and be on time. So I take pride in trying, you know, being the first person here, even before the coaches, and I'm starting to see the coaches are trying to beat me here, and that's a great thing, because again, you know, our iron sharpens iron, right? And I'm just trying to make sure that these young men and any student athlete that I come across, any student that I come across, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm doing my part in helping them become productive citizens once they leave here.
And Coach, you talked earlier about this, but how many seasoned players do you have right now?
So right now I have 15, and I have 11 of them that came back from last year.
Wow.
11 came back. One kid transferred, and we had 7 seniors, 8 seniors. So yeah.
And how many newcomers?
2 newcomers.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 newcomers. Yeah, 2 newcomers.
Now, how many first-time varsity players are actually getting real significant time in the game this season coming up?
The 2 newcomers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they're being thrown in the fire.
Wow.
Yeah.
So who will be your most impactful player this year?
Right now, it's really not one person. It's going to take a team effort.
Yeah.
You know, we have some individuals that we expect to do certain things, perform in certain roles. Sure. But I'll be misspeaking if I said it's one person, because truly it's going to take everyone. It's going to take everyone, and not to say that we don't have or couldn't have one person or 2 people that we can actually rely on or lean on, but we structure it as a team thing. You know, it takes 11. It takes 11. You know, again, one of my isms, I said, hey, if I get penalized for unsportsmanlike conduct, the team is getting penalized. So it's a team thing. So we're building, team, that camaraderie.
Yes.
That oneness.
You talk about that oneness. How can you build this team and camaraderie and bring it back to where your father had it many years ago when I was here?
Right. So back to the future. So I was actually the last head coach to win a region championship here at Burke High School. That was 2011. And I was on the staff the previous years when we had that success. And what small schools such as Burke High School and many other small schools across the state and across the country, we have to understand that we need to share our athletes. The success that we had from 09, 10, 11, those glory years, you would call them, because Burke's not known for football. The last time I believe we won a state championship was in '56, I believe. Don't misquote me. Don't get mad at me. But it was in the 50s, I think, 56, I believe. So it's one of those things to whereas what we had on those teams back then were basketball players that played football.
Yes.
Right now, I'm having a hard time getting those basketball players to play football. But every other school in our region, their basketball players play football. And I never ever tell a kid not to play a particular sport, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. And again, just being transparent, there are a couple kids that are 6'2", 6'3" on the basketball team that they're playing a position, whereas in college they would have to be 6'8", 6'9" or better. Right? So again, I'm not saying that that kid won't be able to play basketball at the next level, but I'm being realistic here. If you are a 6'2" power forward and you don't have the skills as a point guard,
Right.
let's be realistic here. But that same 6'2" kid you put on the football uniform, and I talk to college coaches every day. Just was at a clinic and Coach Drayton, the new head coach at the Center.
Right.
I've known Coach Drayton for years. And one thing that he spoke about was right now folks are looking for length in football, and you don't have to be a certain height, to play multiple positions in the game of football now. But in basketball, if you're people look at Steph Curry.
Oh, yes.
But people don't realize Steph Curry is 6'3". People don't realize that. On TV, you think Steph Curry is like 5'11". No, Steph Curry is 6'3".
Huh.
Kyrie Irving is 6'3". And right now, so if you're 6'2", and Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry, they're point guards. But you're 6'2", and you're a power forward, and you don't even have those Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving skills, but hey, we want volunteers, not hostages.
Right.
I can only offer it to them and say, hey man, give it a try. This, I promise you that you'll have folks that'll give you an opportunity. But that's just that's the difference between how it was years ago, because we had Adele Javon Simmons, Michael Hayward, Sidney Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
Just to name a few. Those guys, David Brown, Fadal Brown.
Oh, yeah.
All those guys, just swapping down, they were basketball players. Now they could play basketball, but boy, on that football field, they made magic. And I know I'm leaving out a few other guys that played basketball. Deshaun Montgomery, Michael Jenkins, just to name a few, man. But all those guys, they played football, and they also played basketball, and that's the difference right now, because there are about 6 guys on that basketball team that I know with what we have right now to take us over the top. But again, we have to play the cards that we do.
So how many of those students have those skills to play both basketball and football right now?
All of them. All of them. Honestly speaking, all of them. And it's. I had a college recruiter that came in from Georgia State, and he actually saw one of the young men, walking down the hallway as we were talking and having a conversation. He's like, Coach Brown, who's that young man? I said, Coach, I said, that kid, I tried to get him to play football. I know he played last year, but he's not playing this year. I said, but he's a basketball player. And the recruiter asked if he could speak with him. So I called the young man. He said, yes, sir. I called him. He said he's coming. So he came around, and the college recruiter asked him. And the reason why I used Steph Curry and Kyrie is because this is exactly what the recruiter said. He said, first he asked the young man, why aren't you playing football? And the young man said, honestly, sir, I don't know. So he said, what position do you play? He was like, I play small forward, power forward. He said, how tall are you? Kid said about 6'2", 6'2.5". He said, so then the recruiter was like, hey, so you have you putting up Kyrie and Steph Curry numbers. So it kind of went over the kid's head, and the kid asked, well, I really don't understand what you're asking me. So then the recruiter put it in simple text. How many points are you averaging a game?
There you go.
And the young man said 13. So the recruiter was like, what? 13 points a game? He said, Kyrie Irving is 6'3". Steph Curry is 6'3".
Right.
He said, well, do you have a jump shot like Kyrie or Steph? No, sir, the young man answered. Do you have ball handling skills like Kyrie or Steph Curry? The young man answered, no, sir. So the guy said, son, I'm just being honest with you because this is what I do. You're concentrating on the wrong sport. He said, right now, son, you at 6'2", I would go back and tell my coaching staff, my head coach, hey, I found a kid with length. and he's a basketball player. And what that does is, now we know that you're athletic, you can run, you can jump, you have agility. You know, not saying that we will offer you a scholarship, but somebody will give you a chance. And the recruiter went on to name some kids from another school that started out as basketball players, but they were enticed on playing football. And now those kids have Power 5 scholarship offers from major colleges. You know, now again, these were kids that had that basketball mentality. And folks, please don't misunderstand me. I have nothing against basketball. I love sports.
Yeah.
Period. You know, I grew up playing football, basketball, baseball. Those three sports that I love. Now, I like other sports, but those three sports I love. I played basketball in high school. I played football in high school. I've coached basketball. I've coached football. So there's nothing against basketball. Please don't misunderstand me. But I know the opportunities that are there for basketball players that play football.
Right.
So that's just one tidbit that I know I went off and got on my soapbox, but that's just the reality of it, man. If I could get those, you know, just like other schools, you know, small schools, because we have to share our athletes.
Yeah.
And that's really the only way we can get it done.
So in total, Coach, how many players did you actually recruit for this year?
So right now, like I said, we have 15 that have been showing up all summer, and that we have right now. But we have kids that for some reason or not just hadn't shown up. You know, and like I said, I can guarantee you, once school starts in 2 weeks, we'll have another 15 or 16 more. So that is the mentality that I'm working on changing. You know, because you know we have to get out of that microwave mentality. Meaning, kids want things done instantly. They don't understand that you have to put in the work. You can't just show up and be dominant and be great. You have to put in work. So it's no coincidence that you have other schools in the area, around the state, and around the country that are successful year in and year out. Because you have the kids that hold themselves accountable. You have the coaches that hold the kids accountable. But the most important part of it, you have the parents that hold these kids accountable. You know, now I don't know what goes on in individual households, but you know, parents, coaches, kids, the student athletes, they all have an equal part of the pie. That's 33%. You know, and the 1% is up in the air. But parents, student athletes, and the coaches, we have to make sure that we always hold those kids accountable and make sure that they're where they need to be. That's why I make sure that I give out calendars, schedules with practice times, scrimmage times, event times. So there's no excuse. I call that getting rid of the excuse factor. You know, so again, those are just things that that we're working on, because I know, and I've seen it too. And again, just being transparent here, and I've seen it. You'll have kids at school A. You know, they don't show up to practice on time every day. They might not even come to practice every day. But that same student athlete will transfer or go to another school, won't ever miss a practice, won't ever be late, and whatever they ask them to have, they and their parents will make sure they're happy. You know, and it's sad it's that way, but that's just the reality of it.
Wow.
You know.
So let's be sitting right now, Coach. What exactly are your key roster concerns?
Our depth right now. You know, we have 15, but depth up front. When we say up front, like the bigger guys, you know, some bigger bodies. Now we have some skilled guys, but of course we would need depth at those areas as well. But we need a little bit more depth up front of our O-line and our defensive line. But of course, overall depth is what we need. You know, right now, like I said before, we have 15, and we've won a lot of games with about 16, 17 kids. But it always helps if you have, you know, some guys that can give those core guys a breather here and there. So right now we're looking at developing some depth and just finding some depth.
And this is a redundant question, but how impactful will some of those players be in the offense?
Actually, they'll be impactful in all three phases. And we call it, the three phases are special teams, the most underrated phase of the game, because you can win or lose many games in special teams, defense, and offense. So right now, we're really looking at guys to help in the special team and the defensive phases.
Wow. And what other phases are you looking at right now?
It's just those three phases. Those are the three main phases. Like I said, special teams, defense, and offense. So we spend equal amount of time on all three phases. And everybody's enamored with offense and scoring points, which I understand. But championships are won defensively. Every sport I coach, it's about defense. And I make a simple example. If you hold a team to 7 points, you only need 8 to score. 8 to win.
Right.
But now if a team scores 24 points, you need 25 to win.
Right.
So championships are won defensively. Now there are going to be times where you're just going to have to outscore the opponent. So again, we don't emphasize any phase more than the other or put more importance on any of the three phases, because all of them are equally important.
Oh, yes. Speaking of which, Coach, what are the 2 toughest games that you and your team are preparing for mentally?
Mentally, the 2 toughest games on our schedule, without a doubt, will be Whale Branch High School and Calhoun County High School. Now, not to say that the other opponents on our schedule, they aren't worthy of preparation, because we prepare for all of our opponents. There's nothing that our opponents do week to week that we're surprised at, because we watch a lot of film, tons of film. We prep, and our kids will tell you, nobody has shown anything that we're not prepared for. So we take pride in having our kids prepared, mentally, and of course physically. But just looking at total team aspects, and look at what's returning from all teams on our schedule, because we've done that homework as well. It's without a doubt is Whale Branch High School in Calhoun County.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to an amazing season for you all this coming season. But right now, Burke High School head football coach Earl Brown Jr., thank you for your time again. Welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Quintin.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.